It is entirely up to eldest senior brother to decide. Then your disciple will go to the Danyang sect to ask for some life-preserving pills. Leave this matter to me, second senior brother. You just severed the lotus. It is very dangerous to do this. Recultivating after severing the lotus. Although you have walked ahead, 3-leaf is ultimately a bit too low. No need to worry. I have had several encounters with the sect master of the Danyang sect. Several encounters? What if a conflict arises? With the sword in hand, it is enough. Please give the order. Master, are you confident? Yu Shangrong. Never do things without confidence. For this mission, ride by in there. If there is a threat to your life, it can lend you a helping hand. Many thanks, Master. Go. This is a mount of the feline family. Even though he was currently only a 3-leaf sword demon, his 8-leaf experience and skills were enough to give him the ability to deal with cultivators of 5-leaf and above. Yu Shangrong could kill nascent divinity tribulation realm experts barehanded. It's just that. How could there be absolute things in this world? Lu Zhou glanced at the system's mission interface. As expected, the mission for Yu Shangrong to obtain the life-preserving pill appeared, and the merit points reward was impressively 10,000 points. I am still a bit worried about second senior brother. To be safe, you will assist in secret. With your second senior brother's temper, it is best not to let him know your whereabouts. Your disciple understands. Your disciple will definitely protect second senior brother well. If not for these 10,000 points, Lu Zhou might not have sent Ming Shirin to assist. With Ming Shirin's help, it was much safer. Senior brother, what is this life-preserving pill? Why does his avatar not have a golden lotus? Elder Zhua, let us chat outside the hall. Your information has been blocked for too long. Sorry to trouble Elder Lung. This old body is ashamed. Zhao Yu, your disciple is here. Send flying letters to Jian Aijian and to Prince Qi. Qin Jun use all their power to search for a woman surnamed Luo. This woman appeared 300 years ago. Yin Tian Luo received her help and became the head of the 3 sects. Your disciple obeys. Looking for someone like this is no different from finding a needle in a haystack. If we could use the power of the traitorous disciple's dark net, perhaps the hope would be even greater. Meanwhile, the life-preserving pills from Beidou Academy and the Danyang sect caused a sensation in the cultivation world. A large number of cultivators flocked to the 2 major sects, not hesitating to spend heavily, even exchanging treasures for the life-preserving pills. Not long after the pills were refined, they didn't even have a proper name, but the 2 words life-preserving spread by word of mouth, propagating extremely fast instead. The quantity of lotus-severing life-preserving pills refined was relatively large, whereas leaf-opening pills were hard to come by even for a single pill. Divine capital Imperial City, inside the Evergreen Palace. This is 1 life-preserving pill and 5 leaf-opening pills sent by the Beidou Academy. Dean Zhou of the Beidou Academy said that leaf-opening pills are extremely precious. The 2 major sects worked together to refine a total of 1,200 life-preserving pills and a total of 8 leaf-opening pills. 5 of them are right here. If not for the Imperial City's lotus-severing experiments, where would the life-preserving pills come from? Taking 5 pills from him is letting him off easy. Your Majesty is wise. Dean Zhou said that each leaf-opening pill can provide powerful medicinal energy to assist in opening leaves, but cannot guarantee that each pill will definitely open a leaf. Medicine is ultimately an external force. The life-preserving pill is the core. The world is undergoing great changes, with internal troubles and external threats. If the Imperial Guards want to sever the lotus, they must have my decree. Pass down my verbal edict. Order the commander of the Northern Imperial City's Imperial Guards, General Ping Qian, to lead troops to protect the Beidou Academy. The pills are precious. Hopefully, Dean Zhou can understand my painstaking efforts. 9-leaf Ji Tiandao. How on earth did he do it? Could I be inferior to him? Ever since hearing the news of the evil Sky Pavilion's Ji Tiandao reaching 9-leaf, he hadn't been able to eat or sleep well during this period. Day and night, he had been keeping an eye on the Beidou Academy, stepping up the refinement of pills. Now that the pills were completed, he saw hope once again. Inside the 10 absolute array, as long as he didn't go out, old Demon Ji and Yu Zhenghai could do nothing to him. Tossing the pill into his mouth, it melted instantly upon entry. Judge's brush. Come. A miniature 8-leaf avatar appeared before his eyes. Emperor Lugu almost did not hesitate, stealing his heart. He swung his arm, and the judge's brush erupted with a fan-shaped, transverse horizontal forceful energy cutting surface. That glittering golden lotus, after being severed, slowly fell to the ground and disappeared. The remaining upper half of the avatar, just as they had experimented, began to decrease from 8 leaves, 7 leaves, 6 leaves. Primal energy dissipated, and everything returned to 0. Emperor Lugu felt a scorching hot power coming from his energy center and energy C. That power prompted the energy center and energy C to absorb the remaining avatar back. With the return of the avatar, the pill's effect emerged. This made him feel gratified. His continuous attempts over the years had finally paid off. The disordered primal energy gradually calmed down. Your Majesty, starting today, will enter secluded cultivation. This meant that unless there were particularly important matters, he would no longer intervene. Over the years, Emperor Lugu rarely intervened in state affairs anyway, basically leaving them to the Prime Minister and the civil and military officials to handle. In his view, he only needed to hold on to the Imperial Guards, be the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies, and sit in control of the divine capital to remain invincible. Now that a 9-leaf had appeared out of nowhere, if he couldn't become a 9-leaf in a very short time, the entire divine capital would become someone else's possession. As the monarch of a country, he had to stand at the highest point. Evil Sky Pavilion, East Pavilion. Lu Zhou glanced at the system panel. The trip to the 3 sects had earned him over 20,000 merit points in a single journey. This surprised Lu Zhou. The vast majority of this came from the kowtows of the 3 sects disciples. It was just a pity that kowtowing had conditional restrictions. Otherwise, he could just go everywhere threatening major sects to kowtow. Discarding his thoughts, Lu Zhou didn't stand on ceremony and casually enjoyed a 10 consecutive draw of "Thank you for your patronage." Then he honestly comprehended the heavenly writing. The reversal cards had accumulated to 53. Lu Zhou did not hesitate and used 10 reversal cards. Life force surged. The commotion this time was much greater than before, with a very obvious sense of ravaging different from other times. When the life force entered his aged body, there was a faint restlessness and rejection, but it quickly integrated completely. Remaining lifespan, 16,750 days. 400 days added per card. Was this the reason for the restlessness and rejection? The increase in days exceeded Lu Zhou's expectations. Calculated this way, it would be best to hoard all reversal cards in the future. Hoarding cards changes one's life. Just sit and wait for the price to rise. However, he didn't overthink it, closed his eyes, and comprehended the heavenly writing. On the square of the South Pavilion, Lin Luo recounted the main events that had occurred in the cultivation world during this period to Zuyushu one by one. Zuyushu clicked her tongue secretly as she listened. That person who just now looked like a modest gentleman on the surface is actually the contemporary sword path expert, the sword demon. No need to worry too much. Mr. Second is frank and easygoing. He is not the kind of narrow-minded, petty villain. Back then, when this old body was living in seclusion in the canyon, I also learned some scattered information from the disciples of the Jinsang school. I have heard somewhat of this world-shaking sword demon. The cultivation world's death list came from his hands, stirring the cultivation world into chaos. Many thanks for Elder Lung's guidance. You are too polite. At this time, a violent surge of primal energy from the East Pavilion attracted the attention of the two. No need to pay attention. Absolutely do not go to the East Pavilion. Curiosity kills the cat. This should be the cultivation method of 9-leaf. It's better not to go over. Mount Danyang. Foreign enemy invasion. Full alert. The disciples of the Danyang sect successively drew their longswords and looked at the sky. Quickly invite the seniors of the Penglai sect. Who goes there? I am Yushangrong. The disciples on Mount Danyang were all taken aback. How many times had someone impersonated an evil Sky Pavilion disciple now? To be cautious, treat him with courtesy. As long as we don't give the pills, he won't succeed. Yushangrong observed that barrier. If he had his 8-leaf cultivation, such a barrier could be forcibly broken using the power of the longevity sword combined with runes. But the problem was, he currently only had 3 leaves. Brother, how can you prove your identity? Danyang sect master Wu Daong can distinguish true from false. If I hadn't seen his infatuation with alchemy back then, his name would definitely have been on that death list. I bear no malice. What I just said was spoken entirely out of goodwill. Your Excellency doesn't look like it. The longevity sword was unsheathed. The pale red longsword spun in the air, daring to disrespect Mr. Second. Are you all tired of living, Elder Shen? It really is the evil Sky Pavilion's Mr. Second. Please enter. As soon as these words came out, all the disciples shivered all over, successively dropped the swords in their hands, and without another word, knelt down. Yu Shangrong felt it was strange. He had no impression of this person. Since he was here, he would make the best of it. Having someone recognize him saved him trouble. Yu Shangrong glanced at this person and walked into the barrier. How should I address this friend? My name is Shen Liangshou. During the battle in Liang State, I had a brief encounter with old Senior Ji. This person was the #1 on the white list in Liang State, Shen Liangshou. Ever since that incident ended, he stopped doing the dirty work of human trafficking. After using the Black Magnolia to restore his cultivation, he came to the Danyang sect and became an elder. The person Shen Liangshou worshipped the most was Ji Tiandao. Having suffered a loss from looking down on people like a snob once, he tried every means to gather information and studied the basic characteristics of the 9 great disciples of the evil Sky Pavilion. As expected, it came in handy today. This is very good. Disrespecting Mr. Second. I'll deal with you all later. Shen Liangshou reprimanded. The disciples knelt there, not daring to move, shivering all over. My apologies. These disciples are ignorant, making a fool of themselves before Mr. Second. It matters not. May I know what brings Mr. Second to this place? Actually, without asking, he could guess the general idea. It was just that the evil Sky Pavilion never played by the rules when doing things. I heard the Danyang sect has lotus-severing life-preserving pills. Man, disciple is here. Fetch 10 life-preserving pills to gift to Mr. Second. Yes, preferably 100 pills. Currently, life-preserving pills are in short supply. 100 pills is not a small number. Mr. Second, please have a cup of tea and rest your feet first. I am pressed for time. Then please wait a moment. I will fetch the life-preserving pills for you right away. Shen Liangshou dared not show any negligence and turned to go to the alchemy room. Bayan landed on the ground and came to his side. Where had those disciples ever seen such amount? They retreated again. again in fright. Mr. Second, 100 life-preserving pills. I heard the Danyang sect also has leaf-opening pills. Mr. Second, the Danyang sect only has life-preserving pills. Leaf-opening pills are even more precious and extremely difficult to refine. Moreover, only the Beidou Academy can refine them. Hearing this, Yu Shanrong nodded. He took those 100 life-preserving pills, placed them in front of his nose, and sniffed slightly. A very special medicinal fragrance wafted to his face. Mr. Second, you are going to sever the lotus? When severing the lotus, take this medicine first, and then you must be fast, ruthless, and accurate. What are the particulars? If you have leaf-opening pills, you can take them in the early stages to improve your strength as soon as possible. Leaf-opening pills have little use in the later stages. After upgrading, the medicinal efficacy will gradually decrease. Moreover, if the upgrading speed is too fast, the foundation will be unstable. Quite reasonable. Mr. Second, after you return, please put in a few good words for me in front of old Senior G. I, Shin Liangshou, will be endlessly grateful. Putting away the life-preserving pills, Yu Shanrong rode by and flew out. Respectfully seeing off Mr. Second, Shin Liangshou hurriedly turned and ran towards the Danyang sect's discussion hall. Sect Master Wu, the person has already left. Fortunately, you appeared in time. It really scared me to death. Sect Master, do not panic. Mr. Second harbored no hostility. No matter what, our Danyang sect cannot afford to provoke the Sword Demon, much less the Evil Sky Pavilion. Evil Sky Pavilion. After comprehending the heavenly writing for a night, Lu Zhou opened his eyes. Sensing the condition of the heavenly writing's extraordinary power, it was about 1/5 full. At this speed, it would only take 5 days to fully charge the extraordinary power. He stood up and looked at the ancient parchment map. Apart from the Great Flame World, everything else on the ancient map was still a hazy gray. There was nothing. Better draw a prize to change my mood. Ding. Consumed 50 merit points for the prize draw. Consumed 54 luck points. Obtain disguise card *5. Can change your appearance. Each use lasts for 5 days. Our current system's all this scammy? Popping out this kind of especially useless card at every turn? Master, Si Wuya requests an audience. What is the matter? He said he thought of the matter regarding the memory crystal. Let him come over. Please sit down. Master, your disciple dares not. These few days, your disciple has been reflecting in the reflection cave, while also pondering the matter of the memory crystal. Your disciple feels that the crystal should be in the western frontier, rather than the northern frontier. How so? After Master sealed his memories, you made a trip to the western frontier. There are 5 kingdoms in the western frontier. When Master returned after sealing your memories, you encountered the first siege by the 10 great experts. The only one capable of understanding Master's whereabouts so well and designing the siege is Lulan, who had this motive and strength. I always thought it was the trickery of those traitorous disciples, especially Yu Zhenghai, whose suspicion was the greatest. With Si Wuya's reminder, it did make some sense. Third senior brother once severed the western region's princess consort with a sword. Does Master know why? Keeping Master in suspense? That princess consort was inherently a great sorcerer who coveted second senior brother and wanted to take the opportunity to control him. How could second senior brother fall for her trick? After slaying the princess consort, the Imperial family, in order to ensure the marriage alliance, had to take a princess consort into the palace. Jade consort was an ordinary person, yet she brought Molly into the palace, wanting to take the opportunity to disrupt Great Flame. However, the evil Sky Pavilion stood as a stumbling block. You mean to say, the one who schemed to frame this old man was Lulan? 9 times out of 10. What does this have to do with the memory crystal? The Lulan people were so clear about your movements. Presumably, they also knew where you went in the western frontier. If we can find out Master's movement route from back then, the memory crystal can be found. What this traitorous disciple said made some sense. But how to find it? Master, your disciple has also planted some foreign tribe informants over the years, especially in Lulan. Si Wuya's loyalty had increased a bit compared to before, but it still wasn't very high. This matter can only be done by your disciple. Although Jian Ijian is the 3rd prince of Great Flame and has many informants, his understanding of foreign tribes is too lacking. Jian Ijian is naturally free and lazy, not paying attention to many pieces of information. Back then, many pieces of news were notified to the Evil Sky Pavilion by your disciple in the name of the Dark Net. Jian Ijian clearly could have done it. This person Jian Ijian is untrustworthy. Your disciple did not intentionally slander Jian Ijian. Master, please forgive my sins. Do you know why this old man made you reflect in the reflection cave? Your disciple knows that betraying the sect is unforgivable. Your disciple has absolutely no complaints about any punishment. You and Yu Shanrong both share an unnecessary arrogance. Confidence is fine, but overconfidence becomes conceit. Arrogance will often blind your eyes. Si Wuya froze. Thinking of the pile of blank papers in the reflection cave, he felt a burning heat on his face. He styled himself as clever, styled himself as strategizing, yet of those problems, he couldn't solve a single one. Master's lecture is correct. Your disciple understands. Up until now, are you still unwilling to speak of Yu Zhenghai's situation? Your disciple promised eldest senior brother, if you do not speak, this old man will expel you from the sect. From now on, you will have no further ties with the Evil Sky Pavilion. The peacock feather. This old man returns to you. You may leave at any time. If we meet again in the future, if as enemies, this old man will absolutely absolutely show no mercy. Ding. Disciplined Si Wuya. Obtain 500 merit points. Lu Zhou wouldn't believe the so-called bullshit promise. You, Si Wuya, could even betray your sect. What is there to talk about promising you Zhenghai? Truly ridiculous. Your disciple can speak, but please master, agree to a condition from your disciple. You are negotiating conditions with this old man. Your disciple absolutely has no heart of disobedience, and even less dares to discuss conditions with master. Haven't you already? Si Wuya was extremely embarrassed. All his confidence and composure became terribly awful under master's gaze. His mind was in a tangled mess, losing all sense of proportion, and for a moment he didn't know what to say. Lu Zhou took Si Wuya's handbook from his sleeve. After looking at it, he placed the handbook on the table. Do you think that if you don't say it, this old man wouldn't know? You know, the Wuchi people, when the person dies, their heart is immortal. Burying them with earth and watering them with water, they can resurrect from death. The records in the handbook were too obvious, to the extent that it was hard not to find out. Master ultimately still found out. Eldest senior brother's fate is bitter. His fate is bitter. Zhenghai single-handedly created the underworld sect, annexing factions everywhere. His subordinate four great protectors are brave and fierce in battle. Now the entire world is about to be controlled by him, riding the flying chariot everywhere to establish prestige every day, conquering cities and seizing territories. How does he have a bitter fate? The appearance of the handbook crushed Si Wuya's defenses. Exactly what kind of person could resurrect from death? Even someone like Yun Tian Luo couldn't resurrect from death with the help of the mysterious figure surnamed Luo. So on what basis could Zhenghai do it? Several hundred years ago, the Wuchi tribe originally survived within Great Flame. Later, war broke out, and the Wuchi had to migrate everywhere, migrating from the easternmost Yang State to the westernmost Liang State. Originally, they lived in peace with each other. When the war between Great Flame and Lulan broke out, the Wuchi tribe suffered the flames of war and was almost exterminated. The entire Wuchi tribe only had 3 people left, and eldest senior brother was one of them. At that time, they were still young. The 3 begged for a living everywhere, wandering the streets. They were beaten, enduring supercilious looks. Eldest senior brother often stole some food to share with his companions. Eldest senior brother has a stubborn temper and a tough mouth. Sometimes even after taking a beating, he wouldn't bow his head. Lu Zhou had experienced this point. Zhenghai's temper was not as simple as just being stubborn. Things he settled on were very hard to change. Later, 2 of the 3 were beaten to death. Eldest senior brother was sold by human traffickers, wandering to Lulan. Speaking up to here, Si Wuya paused. He raised his head slightly, wanting to see Master's expression. Master still looked normal. Impossible to tell what he was thinking. Why not resurrect from death? Once a Wuchi person dies, ordinary Wuchi people find it hard to achieve. The condition requirements are harsh. Wuchi tribe members who have stepped into cultivation also need someone to care for them. Moreover, the Wuchi tribe can only achieve resurrection 3 times. Every death will deplete 300 years of lifespan. Eldest senior brother is currently at 8-leaf perfection and should originally have a millennium of lifespan. What a pity. Lu Zhou fell into deep thought. If an infinite loop could be achieved, that would be equivalent to eternal life. In this vast cultivation world, could there really not be a single person who could transcend the shackles? Eldest senior brother originally thought that life would be easier after going to Lulan. But unexpectedly, not only did he not live a good life, he couldn't even sleep normally. A royal noble in Lulan extremely hated Great Flame. Seeking thrills, he tied eldest senior brother up and stabbed him with a knife every day. Every knife thrust caused a piercing pain to the heart. For 7 consecutive days, he bled to death. Perhaps heaven showed mercy. Eldest senior brother's life was not meant to end. He was thrown into a quagmire for full 49 days. After eldest senior brother resurrected, he followed a merchant caravan from Lulan, heading east all the way, and escaped back to Great Flame until he formally became your disciple. Your disciple is willing to help eldest senior brother conquer the entire world. I didn't regret it before, and won't regret it in the future. Be it white citizens, or gentleman country, or Zhenghai of the Wuchi tribe, all were related to lifespan. According to what the few disciples said, if it was Ji Tiandao who wanted to use his disciples to advance to 9-leaf, or to achieve the goal of longevity, then why didn't he do so? The 9 disciples should have ultimately all been sacrifices. What happened in between? How to explain the handbook? Your disciple wishes to beg master, spare eldest senior brother this once. What the handbook records is eldest senior brother's second death when he first stepped into 8-leaf. Second death? Since he joined the evil Sky Pavilion and stepped into cultivation. With Zhenghai's subsequent cultivation and strength, how could he die easily? I am afraid only master you know this. Lu Zhou frowned slightly. He stood up and paced with his hands behind his back. If he really knew, there wouldn't be this pile of matters today. He searched the memories in his mind meticulously but had no impression at all. Ji Tiandao. Oh, Ji Tiandao, did you even seal all the memories of killing your disciple? Although Lu Zhou was just a traveler, those things had nothing to do with him, but he ultimately became Ji Tiandao, which doomed him to be unable to break free from it. You suspect this old man killed Zhenghai? If it were the beginning of the crossing, Lu Zhou would also suspect Ji Tiandao killed Zhenghai. But looking at it now, there seemed to be another hidden reason. Your disciple dares not. Your disciple is willing to retrieve the memory crystal. Before, Si Wuya wouldn't wouldn't be willing to retrieve the memory crystal. Now that master had already entered Nine Leaf, those worries no longer existed. Si Wuya, listen, your disciple is here. This old man gives you 2 missions. First, search for the crystal. Second, persuade Zhenghai to return. Your disciple carefully obeys master's command. It's just that what? Your disciple has no doubts about the first condition, but eldest senior brother has a stubborn temper. I am afraid. Handle it as you see fit. You are dismissed. Your disciple takes his leave. I will go find Pan Zhong to unseal my cultivation and take the peacock feather. Your disciple thanks master profusely. Si Wuya was overjoyed, picked up the peacock feather, and respectfully retreated from the room. Mr. 7th, need a bath scrub? Mr. 7th, let me wash your clothes for you. Lu Zhou turned around, turning his head to glance at the calligraphy hanging on the wall. Were there such coincidental things in the world? If it was really like this, didn't it mean this old man still had one more disciple? Runan City, inside a certain restaurant. A woman surnamed Luo? Where do you want me to find a woman surnamed Luo? Are you kidding? Old Demon Chi really thinks I am omnipotent. Although I am indeed omnipotent, you can't play like this. Do you know where there is a woman surnamed Luo? Guest, you, go find her yourself. This is insane. Surnamed Luo? A figure who could make Yintian Luo soar into the sky. Why do I feel this is so unrealistic? Let's just search blindly. You haven't paid the bill yet. Dozens of miles north of the Danyang sect, Yu Shangrong was riding Bayan, flying very slowly, enjoying the scenery along the way, and his mood was quite good. Bayan suddenly let out a cry. Let's detour. Bayan changed direction and flew towards the edge outside the forest. The area above was filled with smoke. This black mist was not simple. Poisonous? Friend, why not come down for a chat? He had already anticipated a stumbling block. That black mist was clearly intended to block him. Very well. Yu Shangrong rode Bayan and slowly landed. I really want to buy something from you. Lotus severing life-preserving pills. At this time, the 2 people beside him took out all their belongings, wrapped them together, and handed them over. Are you sure you want to buy? You can also think I am robbing. The Danyang sect is protected by a barrier. Over these few days, we have intercepted quite a few. However, someone with a mount like yours is a first to see. Able to use sorcery. Are you from Lulan or Gentle Edge? Your Excellency has good eyesight. Great Flame has already entered the era of severing Lotus. We of Gentle Edge naturally cannot fall behind. Gentle Edge people, my sword never kills nameless people. You are very proud. Proud in the wrong place. The other 2 people took off their clothes, revealing robust bodies. Their bodies were engraved with dense symbols, looking exceptionally bizarre. Buzz. 2 Wolf King avatars appeared. The 2 sprinted over, carrying the Wolf King avatars, leaping up simultaneously and pouncing through the air. I am afraid of hurting you. Bayan revealed its sunder expression, but it still obeyed the command, stepping back a few paces somewhat reluctantly. Just as those 2 avatars descended, the longevity sword was unsheathed, bursting with red light. The sword's intent leaves no trace. Sizzle. The longevity sword slashed across the Wolf King avatars. 2 screams. The Wolf King avatars split open in the air. Yu Shangrong didn't even turn his head to look, already knowing the result. Friend, your sword technique is quite brilliant. Great Flame has many brilliant sword practitioners. I heard there are numerous sword path experts. Sword maniac Chen Wenjia, sword demon Yu Shangrong, sword slave Wan Haichao. Compared to them, you are still far off. Indeed, his current strength was only 3 leaf. Compared to his peak period, it was off by more than just a little bit. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kalen, younger brother of Gentle Edge Great General Carol. Never heard of you. Carol did sound a bit familiar. He wore a smile, not taking Kalen seriously at all. Kalen suddenly felt that the aura on his body was a bit off. Spreading his arms, a giant Wolf King avatar appeared behind him. 6-leaf Golden Lotus Wolf King avatar. A sorcery formation is laid down here. Within this formation, my strength can explosively rise to 7-leaf in the short term. Yu Shangrong continued to step forward, always wearing a smile. At a distance of only 10 meters from the Wolf King avatar, Yu Shangrong's avatar appeared. An avatar only 3 meters tall appeared beside Yu Shangrong. However, the avatar was horizontal, in a horizontally flying posture. 3-leaf? I thought too highly of you. The black mist in the forest began to converge towards the Wolf King avatar. Right at this moment, Yu Shangrong started running. His figure disappeared. Kalen was taken aback. He suddenly felt as if the world before his eyes was distorted, filled with ocean wave-like emptiness and haziness everywhere. 3 shadows flickered in the left, middle, and right. He saw the leaves on that 3-leaf avatar revolving clockwise around a sword. Kalen was shocked in his heart. An avatar with no golden lotus, only leaves. Kalen immediately erupted with his whole body's primal energy. All the primal energy on the avatar vented towards the surroundings. Very sorry, you are too slow. A single sword crossed through, scattering the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls completely. That sword seemed to pierce through the soul, passing through his avatar, and simultaneously passing through his chest. The battle ended. Everything quieted down. Yu Shangrong stood behind Kalen, his posture straight, his sword-holding stance extremely elegant. Ignoring Kalen's life or death, his gaze landed on the pale red longevity sword. 3 glittering leaves lingered around the longevity sword, rotated 1 circle, and fleetingly disappeared. This verified his thoughts. While the golden lotus was terrifying in defense, the sharpness of the leaf leaves was also commendable. Kalen clutched his chest and knelt down on one knee, his face full of disbelief. Before he even had time to enjoy the bonus of sorcery, he was instantly killed by a single sword. How could this be? How could any random great flame cultivator encountered be so formidable? Could you leave your name so that I may die with my eyes closed? Yu Shangrong still didn't look at Kalen. Raising a single palm, the parcel flew up. A familiar medicinal fragrance came from the parcel. Life-preserving pills, sword demon. No wonder. Guess I am just unlucky. Under this sword, it was almost impossible for him to live, but his intense desire to survive forced him not to fall down. I cannot die. You understand too little about gentle edge. No way. That works too. 3-leaf killing 6-leaf. Kalen gave a violent shudder and sharply turned around along the ground, seeing that person. How on earth was it done? 3-leaf killing 6-leaf? Am I seeing things? Or is your 6-leaf fake? Are you a counterfeit? Absolutely impossible. Makes no sense. Hey, talking to you. Who are you? A scoundrel taking advantage of someone's peril. Yu Shangrong. Kalen's mind went blank. Could it be that being pierced through the chest with a sword caused hallucinations? That person just now also seemed to be called Yu Shangrong. Why is there another Yu Shangrong? Cough, 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 cough. Hallucinations. All hallucinations. Sword demon. Merely a vain title, not worth mentioning. If you have the guts, fight me fairly. My apologies. The thing I like most is taking advantage of people's peril. The separation hook slashed across his neck. You are shameless. Ah, second senior brother. You indeed understand too little about foreign tribes. When dealing with this kind of foreign tribe, I am still the expert. It is still early. I'll take a trip to the Beidou Academy to get some leaf opening pills to play with. Evil Sky Pavilion, East Pavilion. Ding, killed a target, obtained 1,000 merit points. Ding, killed a target, obtained 1,500 merit points. Hearing this prompt, Lu Zhou had to suspend his state of comprehending the heavenly writing and open his eyes. Yu Shangrong, with his current 3-leaf cultivation, wanting to kill a great cultivator is somewhat difficult. It should be Ming Shirin assisting from the side. Knowing to help each other is very good. He closed his eyes and continued to comprehend the heavenly writing. The next morning, your disciple fortunately did not fail the mission and brought back 223 life-preserving pills. The journey was smooth, without any difficulties. You never like to lie. Your disciple knows his mistake. It was just encountering 3 people on the return journey. Mere petty thieves, not worth mentioning. As long as it was smooth, rest early. Your disciple has one request. Your disciple wishes to look at the handbook left by junior brother. Here, you are dismissed. Handbook, your disciple takes his leave. Ding, Yu Shangrong completed the life-preserving pill mission, obtained 10,000 merit points. Lu Zhou closed his eyes and continued to comprehend the heavenly writing. 5 days later, his extraordinary power was full. His mental state and bodily functions were much better than before, and his cultivation also seemed much better than before. It seemed the speed of breaking through by relying on cultivation was not slow either. If it was like this, he could save the merit points for purchasing golden lotus opening leaves. Waiting until the difficulty increased later to use merit points would correspondingly make the upgrading speed much faster. Master, 7th senior brother went to Jing State yesterday. Seeing that you were resting, he asked me to let you know. Got it. With Si Wuya's cultivation, wanting to tie Yu Zhenghai back was somewhat difficult. The reason for sending him was, firstly, Si Wuya could more easily meet Yu Zhenghai. Secondly, even if he couldn't tie him back, at the very least he could assist Yu Zhenghai in dealing with the Imperial family. Thinking of Si Wuya's words, the traitorous disciple's fate was indeed a bit bitter. Before retrieving the memory crystal, Lu Zhou also didn't dare to be certain whether Ji Tiandao had ever killed him or not. How is your cultivation recently? Opening leaves is so hard. The 3rd leaf just won't open. 3rd leaf? When did you open the 2nd leaf? After most cultivators entered the nascent divinity tribulation realm, their cultivation speed would slow down. The girl was getting faster and faster instead, which was unreasonable. It seems like half a month ago. I can't remember clearly. Half a month. Lu Zhou didn't know what to say. Wanting to open the 3rd leaf in half a month, simply wishful thinking. Your teacher is going out for a trip. You stay on the mountain and cultivate properly. Master, I want to go too. Be obedient. Lu Zhou flicked his sleeve and headed towards the back mountain. Watching Master's retreating back, little Yuaner felt a bit wronged. He always took her along before. Now suddenly he wasn't taking her. Master must be disdaining my low cultivation. Otherwise why would he ask about cultivation matters? Arriving at the back mountain, Lu Zhou flipped a single palm and a disguise card appeared in his palm. Before, Lu Zhou didn't have much ability to protect himself and needed to take little Yuaner along, but it was different now. He was now a nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivator, with the heavenly writings divine power by his side, as well as item cards. Self-protection was not a problem. Bringing little Yuaner would instead make it easy for people with ulterior motives to see through him. Within the cultivation world, only entering the nascent divinity tribulation realm was truly considered entering the door. Only the nascent divinity tribulation realm could display great supernatural powers. As for the so-called great supernatural powers, there was no accurate conclusion in the cultivation world. Most cultivators collectively referred to the strongest moves in all categories of the Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist sects techniques as great supernatural powers, such as the sword old demon's destiny and sword techniques, the mysterious heavenly starlight and blade techniques, etc. The second reason was that only in the nascent divinity tribulation realm could the golden lotus open leaves. Stepping into the nascent divinity meant one was no longer weak. This old man wanted to see exactly what kind of thoughts this traitorous disciple had. Whitezerd. With a command, Whitezerd came treading on clouds. Lu Zhou leaped onto Whitezerd and swept down towards the back mountain. In the horizon, Lu Zhou crushed the disguise card, and faint energy lingered around his whole body. A very strange feeling swept over him, but he didn't know what he had transformed into, so he chose to land by a lake near the back mountain, observing against the water surface. Lu Zhou looked down. In the water, it was still the image of an elderly man. It was just more spirited, hair half black, facial features slightly thin, fairly satisfied. Lu Zhou didn't stay long, riding Whitezerd and sweeping towards Jing State. 2 days later, Jing State City. Cloud arrival in heaven rank room on the second floor. Lu Zhou instinctively raised his hand to stroke his beard. As soon as he raised his hand, he realized his beard was much shorter. He was still used to stroking it, suddenly changing his appearance. He was a bit unaccustomed to it all at once. The day before, Lu Zhou had already arrived in Jing State City. What was surprising was that the underworld sect hadn't actually made a move on Jing State City yet. The common people didn't seem affected either. The underworld sect wasn't foolish. They had long promised not to attack commoners. After all, they were fighting for the world, and commoners were the root of the world. Those they needed to fight were the Great Flame Imperial family and the Cultivator factions opposing the underworld sect. Jing State occupied the hinterland of Great Flame, far beyond what remote places like Liang State could compare to. Unfortunately, Lu Zhou couldn't find an opportunity to meet Zhenghai. Guest, the matter you asked me to inquire about has some clues. The great general guarding Jing State City is one of the 8 great commanders of the divine capital, Southwest Commander General Wenshu, a Confucian sect expert. The formations of Jing State City were entirely laid out by the Confucian sect. What movements does the underworld sect have? You can rest assured about this. It is said that even with the underworld sect master personally arriving, he can only stare blankly. Jing State City is solid as golden soup. You have great confidence in Jing State City? It's not just me. Everyone is like this. The common people of Jing State City are basically unaffected. Could you be? The waiter originally wanted to say the word spy, but sensing Lu Zhou's murderous gaze, he swallowed it back immediately. Rest early. He retreated from the room in fright. Without Si Wuya, the underworld sect was indeed much weaker. They couldn't even take down Jing State City. At dusk, a certain underworld sect branch helm, Zhenghai suddenly opened his eyes, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Zhenghai let out a breath. So it was a dream. Do not force me. Just at this time, Hua Chongyang walked in from outside, his face excited. What is the matter? Mr. Seventh has returned. Quick, where is he? Eldest senior brother. We meet again. This man suddenly rushed up and hugged his junior brother fiercely. Good brother, your elder brother missed you to death. Although Zhenghai's behavior was overly excited, it was not incomprehensible. During this time, Hua Chongyang hadn't heard any less of Zhenghai's daily nagging. His catchphrases were, if junior brother handled this matter, how good it would be. If only junior brother were here, and the like. He had long nagged the 4 great protectors until their heads spun. Now that Si Wuya returned, he was naturally happy. Eldest senior brother, don't be happy so early. Master ordered me to come. Master is already 9 leaf. If you want to persuade me to stop, better save it. That is not what I mean. Then what do you mean? Master is old and confused. Are you also confused along with him? What your elder brother deals with is the Great Flame Imperial family, never the evil Sky Pavilion. You know this, yet you still want to help Master? After saying these words, the entire hall became dead silent. Si Wuya also didn't speak the whole time, just looking unblinkingly at Zhenghai, until this burst of breath slowly disappeared. Master is not confused. You and I were probably both wrong. Master ordered me to come and capture you back to the evil Sky Pavilion, but Master clearly knows that with my cultivation, it's impossible for me to do anything to eldest senior brother. So why did Master still do this? Master also wants to deal with Great Flame? Master, let me decide for myself. I think I had made the decision long ago. Zhenghai looked utterly bewildered, indicating he didn't understand. Why doesn't eldest senior brother sever the lotus early and advance to 9 leaf? Severing the lotus means recultivating. Your elder brother specifically wants to take advantage of everyone severing the lotus to conquer this world. Then the sooner the better. Hearing these words, Zhenghai's heart moved. Hua Chongyang, quick, bring the map. Subordinate obeys. Not long after, Hua Chongyang placed the map of Jing State City on the large table. The one guarding Jing State City is one of the 8 great commanders of the divine capital, Wenshu. This person comes from the Confucian sect. The Confucian sect excels in formations, and this is what gives your elder brother a headache. If not for this formation, the sect master alone could take down Wenshu, and Jing State would have been breached long ago. Is there any good strategy? By Wenshu's side, are there your people? The 8 great commanders are no ordinary people. The people by their side aren't so easily won over. Besides, this trick was already used in Liang State. It cannot be used again. I do have another method. Speak quickly. The terrain of Jing State is treacherous, but it is also a place entrenched with fierce beasts. There are many surrounding mountains and woodlands. We can attract beasts to exhaust the formation. Your elder brother is not the king of beasts. How to command them? Coincidentally, 3 days later, at the heaven offering altar north of Jing State, a live sacrifice will be held. Live sacrifice? Merely the foolish act of sacrificing living humans to heaven. This is not important. What's important is, the person being sacrificed this time naturally understands the language of beasts and is proficient in music. With Mr. Seventh saying this, I also have some impression. I previously went into Jing State City to inquire, and there is indeed such a thing. However, I didn't take it to heart at that time, so I didn't ask for details. Hua Chongyang said. Worthy brother means, we intercept this person and use them for our own purposes. Worthy brother truly awakens the dreamer with a single sentence. The same information that Hua Chongyang didn't pay much attention to became an extremely useful thing in Si Wuya's hands. My people's cultivation isn't high. Wanting to intercept this person isn't very realistic. This is easy to handle. The 4 great protectors are at your disposal. The other 3 are far in Liang State. With just one word from worthy brother, no matter how far, they will rush over. Your elder brother is also at your disposal. Mr. Seventh, let me handle this matter. I am relatively familiar with Jing State's main city and also know the location of the heaven offering altar. How could we let the dignified sect master of the underworld sect do this intercepting work? It's truly too degrading, Hua Chongyang said. Zhenghai gave Hua Chongyang a very appreciative look. Then I will trouble brother Chongyang. This is what a subordinate should do. Although the heaven offering altar won't involve forces that are too large, to be safe, you must act low-key, and even more so, you must not expose your identity easily. Otherwise, even eldest senior brother won't be able to save you. What can be taken by wits must absolutely not be acted upon recklessly. The heaven offering altar is ultimately dealing with people. Subordinate understands. Go. It is still much more comfortable when worthy brother is around. These few days, your elder brother has been very vexed. Racking my brains, I couldn't think of any good method to conquer Jing State City. The 4 great protectors have profound cultivation, and the underworld sect doesn't lack many good hands. How could you not think of even one method? Now all 9 provinces are in chaos. Letting your elder brother concentrate on attacking one city is no problem, but stabilizing the entire situation is extremely difficult. Bai Yuqing, Yang Yan, and Di Qing are holding down Liang State, and they still have to be careful guarding against the sudden attacks of the gentle edge people. With too many misgivings, the mind gets messy. How could one still calm down to think of countermeasures? Especially after the era of severing lotus began, the news of Nine Leaf emerging out of nowhere spread throughout the cultivation world, making him even more burning with anxiety. On the surface, although he had stirred up the winds and clouds of the 9 provinces in many places were controlled by the underworld sect, as long as there was a day he failed to cut off the divine capital's lifeline, it wouldn't count as success, let alone conquering the divine capital Imperial City. Eldest senior brother needs not worry. I will definitely exert my utmost effort. For some unknown reason, Zhenghai felt that Si Wuya had a distinct change compared to before. Everything was as usual. In the cloud arrival inn, Lu Zhou opened the window and overlooked the street. There was still no movement. Was this old man's disguise card used in vain? A knock on the door sounded. Your meal. Guest, take your time enjoying it. Are there any movements in Jing State City recently? You've asked many times. Jing State City is very peaceful. There is no place safer than here, so just stay at ease. Old sir. A burst of lively noise rang out on the street. Some low-tier cultivators gathered together, forming groups, and walked towards the north of the city. There were also many people wearing bizarre attire. What is this about? Live sacrifice. Very boring. Live sacrifice? In previous years, live sacrifices were all pigs, cattle, sheep, and the like. I heard this year's live sacrifice is a person. Don't know if it's true or false. No matter what era, there will always be such people. Lu Zhou shook his head, not wanting to meddle in other people's business. Just as he was about to close the window, he saw a man walking briskly across the street. His clothing and attire were very ordinary, but that appearance was quite a bit familiar. Who was this person again? Why did he look so familiar? Lu Zhou tapped his toes lightly, left the restaurant, and landed in the alley beside the inn. At the end of the street, the man suddenly stopped and turned around. May I ask why old senior is following me? Little friend, this old man seems to have seen you somewhere. But to this man, it sounded extremely laughable. I am Hua Yang. Old senior has recognized the wrong person. Do not follow me anymore. It would have been fine if he didn't mention his name, but once mentioned, Lu Zhou remembered Hua Chongyang. That is, the head of the underworld sect's 4 great protectors, the chief seat of the Azure Dragon Hall, Hua Chongyang, a dignified head of the 4 great protectors, a 7-leaf golden lotus expert, actually entering Jing State City alone. Why was this? Hua Chongyang quickly searched the memories in his mind, and there was no such figure. If he exposed his identity and ruined Mr. Seventh's plan, it would be terrible. Lu Zhou followed. As long as he followed Hua Chongyang, he didn't have to worry about not seeing that traitorous disciple Zhenghai. Halfway through, Hua Chongyang suddenly changed direction, taking quick steps and attacking his rear like lightning. Old man, apologies. His figure was like lightning. When he arrived 10 meters in front of Lu Zhou, Hua Chongyang realized that this elderly man's face was composed, calm and steady. An indescribable sense of oppression assailed his heart. Just as Hua Chongyang's fist forceful energy was about to hit Lu Zhou's face, Lu Zhou raised raised his palm. His 5 fingers faintly flickered as if attached with electric currents. He bent his arm and pushed his palm out. The moment the 2 palms collided, vertical forceful energy burst forth. Hua Chongyang was immediately bounced flying backward by this terrifying power. Flipping in midair and flying backward, he flipped 3 times, then landed and retreated another 3 steps. His eyes were filled with astonishment. 6 leaf or 8 leaf, he couldn't judge. He only used 30% of his power, but from the fact that this elderly man could face it so calmly, he was at least 6 leaf or above. Penglai forceful energy palm. I have no grudges or enmity with you. Why are you following me? Lu Zhou was not in a hurry to answer Hua Chongyang. Instead, he sensed the heavenly writing's extraordinary power. The power of that palm just now wasn't strong, consuming about 1/10 of the extraordinary power. This old man is surnamed Lu, from Penglai. Little friend is very similar to an old friend of this old man. This old man indeed recognized the wrong person, so it is a senior from Penglai. Greatly offended. You also know Penglai? More than just knowing. Hua Chongyang stopped immediately halfway through his words, swallowing the rest back. He really almost ruined a major matter. Lu Zhou's heart also moved slightly. Had he known this, he wouldn't have blindly fabricated the Penglai sect. When striking out the palm, there would also have been no need to follow the routines of the Penglai sect. For what matter did old senior come to Jing State? Looking for someone. For what matter did little friend come to Jing State? I'm looking for a person. One question, one answer, taking no loss. The dialogue between the 2 sides was very mechanical, full of a sense of distrust. This situation was very common in the cultivation world. Right at this moment, several cultivators in the sky rode their swords, flying towards the north. They were uniformly dressed in white robes, and their speed was extremely fast. Henku Sword Sect, old senior, I still have matters to attend to. We will meet again. Strange. The Henku Sword Sect is one of the 8 major sects of the Confucian sect. Over the past many years, they have always been low-key. Why have they all come out now? After the decline of the 10 great famous sects, have these sects started getting restless? Perhaps it was because after the era of severing lotus began, everyone was trying to find ways to increase their sect's strength. Lu Zhou didn't think much further, treading through the air and following. While flying in midair, Hua Chongyang glanced back and found that Lu Zhou had indeed caught up. Lu Zhou flew at a leisurely pace. Ginger gets spicier with age. Pursuing too closely could easily cause trouble. Thus, he slowed down his speed. Senior Lu, are you also going to the Heaven Offering Altar north of Jing State to watch the excitement? Heaven Offering Altar? Exactly. Hearing this, Hua Chongyang's heart moved. The matter was much more complicated than imagined. He originally thought this was just an ordinary live sacrifice, and a 7-leaf expert like him going alone could securely handle it. Now it seemed, with the Henku Sword sect stepping in, and Senior Lu of the Penglai sect also intervening, it wasn't simple. Comparatively speaking, Hua Chongyang had a better impression of the Penglai sect. The Confucian sect ruling the world had a long history. The underworld sect fighting for the world would naturally offend many Confucian sect cultivators serving as officials in the divine capital. Does Senior Lu know and understand the person being sacrificed this time? Not very well. Lu Zhou couldn't be happier to slow down. The speed of a 7-leaf nascent divinity. He was 1 leaf, unless he used Whitezard. The problem was, once he used Whitezard, wouldn't that equate to exposing his identity? It is said that this woman's origins are unknown, and she is an evil person. Some say she comes from Lulan, some say she comes from the Endless Sea. In short, it's very bizarre. After she arrived, beasts invaded, and birds went into a frenzy. In the eyes of the cultivation world, this is an ominous sign, and she ought to be sacrificed alive. Would you believe this? Of course I don't. Are you going to save someone? Hua Chongyang froze. This elderly man was not simple. Without answering anything, he managed to turn the tables instead, like Senior Lu, joining the fun. However, this woman is very special. A perfectly good human life, just sacrificed alive like this. It's quite a pity. The world is vast, and human hearts are unpredictable. Being able to smoothly live through a lifetime is already a stroke of luck. Where does one find the mind to pity others? Reasonable words. I have been taught. Hua Chongyang looked forward. Where was there any trace of the Henku Sword sect? Senior Lu, why not speed up? Senior Lu has great wisdom. The Heaven Offering Altar is inanimate and cannot move anyway. Why bother following that group from the Henku Sword sect? Not long after, they saw the quaint, solemn Heaven Offering Altar with monotonous and austere colors. Still using living people for sacrifice? Senior Lu, there are quite a few people. Many low-tier cultivators swarmed over, surrounding the Heaven Offering Altar. Kill the demoness! Kill the demoness! Lu Zhou and Hua Chongyang heard the shouting from the crowd. Hua Chongyang frowned. It indeed became complicated. Why do you frown? Too many people. Noisy. Then why not leave now? Since you and this old man hit it off at first sight, how about we grab a cup of tea? Since we're already here, let's take a look. He had already promised the sect master and Mr. Seventh to definitely complete the mission. How could he give up halfway? Although things were complicated, they hadn't reached an uncontrollable stage. Senior Lu, are you truly not here for this woman? You already have the answer in your heart. Why ask this old man again? No matter what question was answered, Hua Chongyang wouldn't believe it. Even if he said he was from the Penglai sect, even if it looked like the underworld sect had some slight connection with the Penglai sect, Lu Zhou did not think that in a situation of a chance meeting where they were mutually on guard, Hua Chongyang would bare his heart. An ambiguous answer was enough. The Great Void Academy has also sent people. Today's lineup is quite large. Are you afraid? Why should I fear them? If a real fight breaks out, who wins and who loses, at whose hands the deer dies, remains unknown. Confidence is a good thing, but overconfidence is conceit. Similar confidence had been seen on Yu Shangrong and Si Wuya. Sometimes this confidence would help them, but sometimes it would also harm them. Among the numerous disciples, if one really had to say who handled matters most reliably, Lu Zhou would definitely choose the fourth disciple, Ming Shirin. To this day, Ming Shirin had never disappointed him. Confidence stems from strength. Isn't old Senior Lu also very confident? Lu Zhou didn't bother responding to him again. This person being sacrificed alive. I don't know much about her. Apart from understanding the language of beasts, she is also extremely skilled in music. It is said someone saw her sitting alone by the seaside, blowing a conch shell, which attracted many fierce sea beasts that attacked fishermen. Of course, this is just hearsay and cannot be confirmed. Originally, Lu Zhou didn't pay much attention to this person, but someone with such a set of characteristics was hard to go unnoticed. Ending up in a live sacrifice is the best proof. No one knows where she comes from. Could be a foreign tribe, could be a person from Great Flame. No one knows. Among foreign tribes, there are also those who understand the language of beasts. This is nothing strange. Being able to agitate fierce beasts, however, is indeed a bit rare. What is going on? Hurry and bring the demoness up. Everyone is waiting. The common people of Jing State City are all watching. If the demoness doesn't die, the commoners cannot eat or sleep in peace. Hold your peace. The hour has arrived. Bring the demoness up. The entire heaven offering altar quieted down. A slender figure walks slowly from the aisle. Pure white bare feet stepped on the wooden floor, making crisp sounds. Her hands were bound by ropes. Two cultivators followed closely behind. Her hair fell over her shoulders, appearing slightly messy. The cultivators revealed surprised expressions because they truly couldn't associate the girl before their eyes with the word demoness. Her face bore a bit of mud, but it didn't conceal her exquisite facial features at all. Her clothes were tattered, and her feet were bare. Many people thought of a term, conch girl. What caught people's eyes the most was that pair of large, sparkling eyes like ink. Under long eyelashes, those eyes, however, revealed a blank look. She attracted the gazes of everyone present, the focus of millions of eyes. Lu Zhou had already developed a trace of curiosity and swept his gaze over. What surprised him was that the eye of truth provided no information. What was going on? But judging from the situation before him, this girl had absolutely no fluctuations of primal energy on her, nor any aura of a cultivator. Then how did she manage to guide fierce beasts to attack the common people? Demoness. Even more bewildered, her expression was full of doubt, as if not knowing why it was like this. What was surprising was that in her eyes, there was no fear, no fright, and no panic. There was only perplexity and incomprehension. Bring her up. The two cultivators sent out streaks of forceful energy, lifting that girl up, lifting her onto the wooden rack. The old priest flicked his whisk. Ropes circled 3 times, binding the girl to the wood. Are you clear on the reason she is tied up? I don't know. She is a demoness. Doesn't seem like it. Why doesn't she look like it? Intuition. What does Senior Lu think? This old man actually feels she is a demoness. Why? She is not startled, not panicked, not flustered, not terrified, not afraid. Can an ordinary person do that? She has no primal energy fluctuations on her. How does she command fierce beasts? She is no more than 16 years of age. Where her home is, what her surname and given name are, nothing is known. How do you explain this? 6 observations and 3 questions. Hua Chongyang was rendered speechless. The hour has arrived. The heaven sacrifice begins. I am Yang Ping of Mount Qingfeng. In the name of heaven, I purify your sins. You will vanish into ashes and smoke forever. You will bear the flames. You will sink into the bottom of the sea. Your soul will undergo trials, and your will undergo tests. Sins cannot accommodate the soul, and evil cannot accommodate ugliness. Preaching is useless. Broken bones and a burning body are the best punishments. Just as the flames ignited, the girl looked down and revealed a look of doubt. The Great Void Academy sent a forceful energy palm flying over, striking away the firewood under the wooden rack. Who are you people, daring to halt the will of heaven? I am the head disciple of the Great Void Academy, Jianrani. You spoke incorrectly, so naturally, I must object. It's not up to you to decide. It depends on whether the common people agree or not. He completely did not expect that someone would cause trouble at this crucial moment. For so many years, Jing State City's sacrifices had never had problems. The only difference was that this year, a living person was used. A few more people came, and there were quite a few cultivators. But with the strongest support of the common people, he had enough confidence. The common people were indeed weak, weaker than even ants. But in this cultivation world, only someone whose brain was flooded with water would openly go against the common people. Ordinary people are the foundation of cultivators, the basis for providing fresh blood, reaching up to the Son of Heaven, complying with the will of the people. Cultivators are the same. Openly acting against ordinary commoners would inevitably incur the spurn and hostility of cultivators. This had long become an unwritten rule in the cultivation world. Sure enough, the common people started accusing them one after another. The demoness deserves to be killed. Kill the demoness. You cannot protect the demoness. You are a Taoist priest, yet you speak of foreign tribe sacrificial methods. You even dare to sacrifice a living person, using this to fool the commoners and seek personal gain. Who gave you the guts? The Tao inherently existed before the Heavenly Emperor. Primal energy creates all things without possessing them. I already said just now, I come from the Great Void Academy. You, a Taoist priest, are full of nonsense and gibberish. Sins cannot accommodate the soul, and evil cannot accommodate ugliness. Who taught you this? Said like this, the cultivators present also felt it made sense. Even if the common people's voices were loud, it was just shouting a few lines, and they could not influence the will of cultivators. In Great Flame's Cultivation, thought forges theory, and theory guides practical cultivation. Among the major three schools of Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist sects, not a single one has such a sacrificial ritual. Instead, it's somewhat similar to the foreign tribe sorcery. Cultivators who had entered official academies experienced this even deeper. With the Great Void Academy's disciple saying this, it actually surprised everyone. Truly worthy of being the head disciple of the Great Void Academy. I agree with the Great Void Academy's statement. This old priest has the face of a great flame person but possesses the filthy soul and ugly thoughts of a foreign tribe. I suggest we kill him first. Kill him. The Hanko Sword sect spoke in unison, their shouts shaking the sky. Many thanks for everyone's support. Fellow villagers, do not be deceived by them. Open your eyes wide and take a look. Is the girl tied up there a demoness? On the wooden rack, that girl blinked her large eyes, showing a curious expression as she observed everything before her. Old thing, treating human lives like grass. Still not hurrying to confess your guilt? Yang Ping took another step back. Seeing that the situation was bad, he stomped his feet and soared into the air. Trying to run? Hanko Sword sect elder Zhang Kan drew his sword and took to the air. Primal energy surged, and 4 or 5 sword forceful energies revolved around the longsword. Yang Ping, a low-tier cultivator who hadn't even entered the Brahma Sea realm, was instantly pierced through the back by 4 or 5 sword forceful energies. This kind of person with the wild ambition of a wolf should have been brought to justice and confessed his guilt long ago. Good kill. By the order of my master, I am taking her back to the academy to be handled separately. Hold on. Any objections? On what basis can your Great Void Academy take her away? Are you disregarding our Hanko Sword sect? Your Hanko Sword sect also wants to stick a hand in this. The numerous disciples of the Great Void Academy had already opened up their battle array. The cultivators of the Hanko Sword sect unsheathed all their worn swords. Unrelated persons, all retreat. Seeing the bad situation, the common people retreated outward like a tide. Only Lu Zhou and Hua Chongyang stood in place, unmoving and very conspicuous. It was hard not to attract attention. I actually have a good suggestion. Why not ask her attitude? I agree. I also agree. How about returning to the Great Void Academy with me? As long as you are willing to go back with me, I will give you whatever you want. Jianrani tried his best to force a calm expression on his face, deeply afraid of scaring this girl. The girl cast a slight sideways glance, lingering on Jianrani for barely a second before shaking her head. Ha 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 ha. Jiang Kim laughed loudly. Jianrani, you better give up on this idea. Come back to the Hanko Sword sect with me, and the sect master will personally teach you cultivation. All the senior brothers and sisters of the Hanko Sword sect will be your arms and support. The girl turned her head, glanced at Zhang Kan, and shook her head. With this shake of her head, the people from the Great Void Academy similarly laughed out loud, returning the favor. What is your name? What kind of person could make so many sects fight over her, even promising to give such generous treatment? The young girl still shook her head blankly. She lifted the object in her hand and said softly, Conch. Conch? Then I shall call you Conch. I will take you away. How about it? Perhaps it was because Hua Chongyang asked her name. Facing the sunlight, the young girl revealed a warm smile, but she didn't immediately agree to Hua Chongyang. Instead, she picked up the conch in her hand and gently placed it to her lips. Thin lips slightly pursed. A low whimpering sound rang out. Woo! The sound emitted by the conch was melodious and lingering, spreading across the entire heaven-offering altar. The unique tone and rhythm were just like coming from a distant underwater world, cheerfully recounting the past and everything. It was clearly a very low sound, yet it sounded so bright and sunny. The sound reached into the forest. Birds appeared in the sky. There were giant eagles. There were weak little sparrows, flying all over the sky. On the land within the forest, hundreds of beasts crawled over. Their eyes emitted a dim green light. This was the sign in the cultivation world of having stepped into basic cultivation, absorbing the primal energy of heaven and earth, becoming tough, becoming even more ferocious. Powerful, fierce beasts were even more so the enemies of humanity. The conch sound stunned everyone. Demoness. It was also at this time that the Great Void Academy's head disciple, Jianrani, stepped on the stone slab, his body like lightning, and flew towards the conch girl. Hanko Sword sect's Zhang Kan did the same, no slower than Jianrani. Since it's like this, then let's see the truth on our fists. Carrying forceful energy winds, the two collided in midair. Both of their bodies were wrapped in circular forceful energy. After colliding, they confronted each other in midair. The numerous disciples of the Great Void Academy charged out, while the Hanko Sword sect simultaneously rode their swords out. For a time, the scene was chaotic. With two tigers fighting, he could conveniently reap the fisherman's profit. Hua Chongyang was as light as a swallow, blocking the forceful energy outside. Come with me. Several sword forceful energies sieged towards her. Hua Chongyang struck out a single palm, and a giant forceful energy seal blasted all the swords sword forceful energies apart. Retracting the palm seal, the conch girl was sucked back by the palm seal. Don't let him leave. Zhang Qin and Jiang Renyi also noticed this point. The two immediately suspended their battle, reached a tacit understanding almost instantly, and attacked towards Hua Chongyang. An avatar close to 27 meters tall suddenly erupted and appeared. Glittering forceful energy forced Zhang Qin and Jiang Renyi back. The two flew backward, spitting blood towards the sky. 7-leaf expert. It's actually a 7-leaf expert. While displaying the 7-leaf avatar, Hua Chongyang did not look at Zhang Qin and Jiang Renyi. His attention was always on Lu Zhou. In the entire venue, only Lu Zhou was the most likely to pose a threat to him. Lu Zhou also raised his head, glanced at that 7-leaf expert, and his face remained calm. Zhang Qin and Jiang Renyi endured the pain, stalling in midair. All disciples, listen to my command. All the disciples of the Great Void Academy consecutively pulled out talismans from their bodies. The Henku sword sect consecutively bit their fingers, using blood to sacrifice to their swords. Talismans burned, sword forceful energies lit up. Streaks of character seals floated up, forming a giant character seal great formation. Didn't expect them to coordinate so tacitly. Hua Chongyang retracted a single palm, and his forceful energy carried the conch girl flying away from the heaven offering altar. The conch girl indeed didn't understand cultivation. Bound by the forceful energy, she had absolutely no power to break free. The moment he flew out of the heaven offering altar, a black shadow swept over from behind. Too fast. Around the fist lingered a crimson gold-like forceful energy seal. Hua Chongyang blocked with both arms. At the same time, he erupted his entire body's forceful energy seal shield to block the Great Void Academy's character seals and the Henku sword sect's sword formation. The attacks of the two major sects he could still block, but this suddenly appearing crimson gold-like fist forceful energy exceeded his expectations. The only one he could rely on was this elderly man. Senior Lu, help me. The conch girl was sent right in front of Lu Zhou by a palm from Hua Chongyang. Hua Chongyang slid a long distance along the ground. The bluestone floor was actually scraped off a layer before he slowly stopped. The conch girl lifted her large eyes and glanced to the side and rear. Hello, what is your name? This old man is surnamed Lu. What about you? Luo, come here. The conch girl came to Lu Zhou's side, as obedient as if she were his granddaughter, leaving everyone watching wide-eyed with shock. By the order of Lord Wenshu, live sacrifices are not permitted at the heaven offering altar. I am taking this girl away. In these special times, those who violate military orders will be executed immediately. 100 meters behind the common people, thousands of soldiers had already lined up, looking awe-inspiringly at the heaven offering altar. This little girl has an affinity with this old man. I am afraid you cannot take her away. So it is General Wenshu's subordinate #1 expert, General Ning. Zhang Qin of the Henku sword sect greets General Ning. Hua Chongyang's heart had already gone half cold. Why would Ning Han be here? If it were a one-on-one fight, clashing head-on, the two were evenly matched, but the sudden attack just now was too sudden, causing him to suffer some injuries. Ning Han was extremely skilled in close-quarters combat, a killing machine on the battlefield. Before attacking Jing State, the underworld sect had studied Wenshu and his subordinates. This Ning Han was a key focus among them. Meeting here, this was bad. Even if it was their first clash, Hua Chongyang dared not be careless. If this killing machine found out his true identity, the consequences would be unimaginable. The conch girl stood to the side, continuing to observe every movement around her. In her eyes, there was still no fear and panic. There was only curiosity. What did you just say? This old man never repeats himself a second time. Lu Zhou did not continue to pay attention to General Ning. Instead, he looked at the injured Hua Chongyang, grabbed the conch girl's small hand with his large hand, and walked towards the outside of the heaven offering altar. Where are we going? Wherever you want to go, then go there. With a command, dozens of cavalrymen in the front row charged forward. Dim green light also flickered in the eyes of those warhorses. These were no ordinary warhorses. Over 10 warhorses trampled the ground, raising flying dust. Those cavalrymen were at least soldiers who had crossed into the Brahma Sea realm. The spears in their hands buzzed loudly. Lu Zhou stopped in his tracks, looking at the charging warhorses ahead, and raised his right hand. The conch girl also stopped in her tracks. She picked up the conch and blew gently, and a low whimpering sound dispersed forward. The sound was just an ordinary sound, with no primal energy mixed in, nor any offensive sound waves. Those warhorses seemed to have understood. They stopped immediately, their front hooves raised. The warhorses simultaneously raised their legs and reared up. The cultivator's expressions suddenly changed slightly. The warhorses were tamed by their own hands. How could they suddenly lose control? What did you say to them? Freedom. Seeing this scene, Hua Chongyang and General Ning Han were also amazed endlessly. Being able to use music to change the loyalty of warhorses. What a terrifying talent was this. Whoever dares to take the demoness away, execute immediately. The cultivators abandoned the out-of-control warhorses and soared into the air. Are you afraid? What is afraid? Being able to ask this meant she was not afraid. Lu Zhou flipped his palm, and the surrounding primal energy surged up. Dozens of horizontally suspended sword forceful energies formed. Those cavalrymen could not withstand a single blow and fell to the ground one after another. The remaining 2 cavalrymen, carrying 10 directions universe avatars, forcibly carried the corpses and directly pressed pressed towards Lu Zhou's face. Lu Zhou raised his hand, light as the wind and calm as the clouds, and struck out a glittering palm seal. Small fearless seal. Isn't Senior Lu from the Pengwai sect? Why does he also know Buddhist sect palm techniques? One wave fell, and another wave of cultivators pounced overestimating their capabilities. Lu Zhou continued to flip his palm. Primal energy formed forceful energy. Great void piercing treasure seal and outer circle mysterious seal flew out. The palm seals were very special. Glittering large seal script characters hung on the 5 fingers of the palm seals. Bang, bang. 2 palm seals from the Taoist sect's 9-character true word hand seals. Who exactly is this elderly man? Actually able to be proficient in the strengths of both the Buddhist and Taoist sects. Another dozen or so cultivators perished. Lu Zhou was very satisfied. The feeling of not relying on item cards, although lacking the kind of shocking feeling from before, felt much more real to the senses. What are you 2 major sects still standing there blankly for? The time to serve the Imperial court has arrived. Willing to offer the labor of dogs and horses. Better leave it to our Henku sword sect. Zhenghai didn't intend to give the Great Void Academy a chance to perform. With a wave of his large hand, all the disciples of the Henku sword sect condensed sword forceful energies. One sword carried 4 or 5 sword forceful energies, densely packed, suspended horizontally. Senior Lu, uncountable, densely packed sword forceful energies all over the sky shot fiercely towards Lu Zhou, forming a long dragon. Sword formation. Lu Zhou directly flicked his sleeve. The nameless sword left his hand, index and middle fingers aligned, controlling objects with chi. The nameless sword transformed from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. The sword formation was directly chopped down by the nameless sword. The Henku sword set disciples' faces looked awful. This weapon, heaven grade? My fingers won't stop bleeding. This is the sword formation's backlash. We will soon bleed to death. Ning continued to overlook from midair. Going on like this was not a solution. A nascent divinity tribulation realm one leaf ultimately could not sustain a prolonged battle. The disguise card could deter the crowd, but unfortunately it was 10,000 points apiece. Using it just like this would truly be a pity. If not for finding the card too expensive, he would have swatted you down like a fly long ago. Still dare to act tough with this old man? While pondering, Jianrenyi and Zhang swept over at low altitude simultaneously, 1 sword in 1 palm, as fast as lightning. A mere 1-leaf cultivation, yet you dare to be presumptuous. Lu Zhou stepped on the ground with both feet and sword upwards. When the sword and palm arrived in front of him, Lu Zhou crossed his palms. Primal energy surged, and then he pushed towards both sides. A pale blue light appeared. The sword of the great river comes from heaven. How is this possible? It's not 1 leaf. With Lu Zhou as the center, within a radius of 100 meters, it was filled with mountain toppling, sea overturning sword forceful energies. The seawater-like sword forceful energies instantly swallowed the 2. The 2 were shredded to pieces by the sword forceful energies, not even having the time to let out a scream. The sword forceful energies seemed to have grown eyes, bypassing the conch girl and forming an independent safe space. Eldest senior brother, General Ninghan's eyes turned cold. Stepping on the void, even the air produced a ripple. A horizontal punch, like Mount Tai pressing down, attacked towards Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou's surroundings were full of sword forceful energies. What was terrifying was that Ninghan's fist was glittering, intending to smash open the sword forceful energies. Was the extraordinary power not enough? Lu Zhou's expression was indifferent. He drew his arms back, placing them in front of his energy center. The mountain toppling, sea overturning sword forceful energies suddenly disappeared. Ninghan gained a breathing space. A lightning fast punch arrived in front of him. His body was horizontal in the air, his right arm attacking straight forward, courting death. This punch smashed onto Lu Zhou's chest. Anyone hit by my close quarters attacks will have their bodies smashed to pieces and bones crushed. Ninghan landed his punch, his body stalling in the air. He could clearly see his fist touching this elderly man's chest. Let me look closely to see if he's dead. However, when he focused his eyes to see clearly again, there was a blue light layer on this elderly man's body. Lu Zhou forcibly controlled the power of the heavenly writing's divine power to concentrate in front of his body. There was no blue lotus eruption, nor did the blue lotus power recede. This old man's bones. It's been a long time since I tasted a fist.